Hi everyone, I'm Mark,
And I'm Alex.
and this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. Well, welcome everyone to our fifth podcast episode. We're into minigames part 2 here. So the first part we covered, what was it, 10, 10, 2, 12. Of course, focused a lot on Blitzball because how could you not? Actually, funny in a side note here for us is that Alex and I, after we did that episode, we both started playing Blitzball because, dude, it was just, after talking about it like that, I was like, man, I really want to play Blitzball now. And so I started doing what I'm calling the Luca challenge, which is like as soon as you get Blitzball unlocked, obviously first time you're at Luca, just using only the players available at that moment, going all the way. And so it's been very interesting. It's been a lot of fun so far. What do you got going with Blitzball?
I mean, I was gonna try and stick with the original Aurochs, but I
It's
just
rough.
couldn't do it, man. It's just so much temptation. So I think I just ended up
Yeah.
getting kind of doing like a hybrid team where I went and got Kyuri at center and Rop as my defender because
Okay.
Rop is such a good defender, man.
It
It's
is.
hard not to pick him up for that.
Dude,
So
and it's
um,
it's hilarious that you say that because there have been so many players that have become available that I'm just like, oh, like this is really tough to not just pause
exactly.
and go and get them, but I'm not. So, anyway, side note, thought that was pretty hilarious that just from us talking about it really made us want to play Blitzball. But for this episode, we are going to go ahead and we're going to backtrack a little bit and we're going to do Final Fantasies 7, 8, and 9, which it's kind of interesting with it because while 10 for the most part, had Blitzball so in depth. 7, 8, and 9 didn't really have something that was like super crazy. We have Triple Triad, which we will be hitting on, but instead it was kind of the flip side. They had a lot, like a ton of tiny little mini games all over the place.
Little
Just
side quests and things like that.
exactly, and they're just a lot of them. Most of them actually are just kind of one-offs. You can never do again because it's like part of the story or something. But just I kind of like it. It's really cool. It kept things interesting. You know what I mean? Like it kind of broke up the story, and well, I mean, in kind of in that sense, not even on that topic, but kind of starting us off with Final Fantasy VII is Fort Condor, which that's actually kind of just goes against what I was just saying, because you can return, you have to return to complete it. But Fort Condor, in general, I think all of Final Fantasies was really cool. It was kind of like a tower defense, like it was way different, something that wasn't kind of like anywhere else in Final Fantasies. What'd you think?
I loved it. I absolutely loved that minigame. There was definitely a lot of things with it that I didn't know. For example, so a couple of times ago, playing this game, I did a perfect run, and there are a lot of battles there, optional battles that you can get into and things like that. Yeah, overall, I really loved it. It was a really good minigame.
It was just kind of going into the units and stuff. Now, oh, it's been a rough couple of weeks, and I haven't quite been able to get into 7 and do these. So I'm kind of blanking on a lot of the actual unit names themselves. But I guess to just kind of give my strategy on what I liked is I kind of like the little boulder one, right? Where it kind of it sent down little boulders or the
Oh yeah,
catapults.
yeah.
I kind of like setting up a couple of those and having a couple of the range guys and a couple, I kind of like I balanced it out a little bit. And that's generally how I kind of went through it. Obviously you got your attackers, you got your defenders, you got kind of the range, like I said, and the catapult and stuff. So you did have your different types, and I know they had different costs and all that. I don't ever remember there being an issue like, oh, I'm flat out broke. I
Yeah.
can't buy any. I don't remember that.
I never had a problem with that either.
Yeah,
It was
I don't think their costs ever being an issue, but I kind of like it. It was quite a bit of variety with that. And then not only that, and I totally forgot about it, but there's a lot of rewards, aren't there?
Oh yeah. I mean, so a lot of these you can actually get some pretty good stuff. I think the first time that you do the battle there, it's optional, but you can get a magic comb for red. It's actually pretty good at that point in the game. It's got double materia growth, and then I think the one after that is a peace ring, which is also a pretty good accessory at that point. I think it's don't quote me on this, but something like darkness and silence, I think.
Okay.
But a lot of them you just get like high potions, X potions. Later on in the game, you get elixirs. But yeah, the units, I used to play really defensively. Like I would put, the tri-stoners out there, do a lot of the catapults, all that kind of
That's
stuff.
right. The
But
tri-stones, yep.
it has worked really good, man.
All that aside, like it was really fun setting it up. I think that was the most fun, part of it was kind of setting up the units and just kind of waiting and seeing what happened. And unfortunately, it was just always really easy. I don't know. Maybe I was overkilling it with units. Maybe I just always had way more than needed and all that stuff. But it was kind of now, granted, as a kid and young, I don't remember. I really don't. But as an adult and going back to it and setting up, it's like, come on, man. Like, can you guys throw something at me here? Like, I only have four guys there, and they're just like blowing through. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum. And it's just like, oh, they're
Yeah.
dead. Okay. It's just, yeah.
It is very easy because later on I learned the strategy of, just putting one attacker at the very bottom, like the max.
Yeah.
And then you just have him go and he pushes the line further and further down. You just keep putting attackers, blitz them out, and it'll be over with like 7 units or something like that. Just use attackers, defenders, and shooters, and every time they spawn at the bottom of the map, you can pretty much put your units right there. So
Yeah, that's true.
there was some interesting stuff where I don't know. I mean, kind of going back to what you were saying, it's such an easy mini game that I don't think a lot of people actually lost and had one of the enemy units get to the shack at the top.
That's true.
So if you do, you have to fight a commander Grand Horn, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, the way it goes is if you lose that fight, it's a game over, just like you would if all your units died in any normal battle.
Right.
And I guess technically Shinra take control of Fort Condor. The weird thing about this one, if you're doing a perfect run, is the item called Vigorous Claw, which basically inflicts Petrify on any enemy unit. It's super rare in this game. I don't know why they made it so rare, but it's either fight Commander Grand Horn, one of the first, I think, first of 7 battles at Fort Condor, or it's got like a 30% drop rate from an enemy.
Gotcha.
So, and that drop rate decreases every level higher you get to where it's basically you can't ever get it. So, just kind of a fun fact. I don't know why they made that item so hard to get.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what, like, as you go on, if you keep, like, because obviously with Fort Condor, you return after a while and you do another battle, you return after a while. And so is it advantageous to just let them come every single time? You know what I mean? Like, not even to place any guys and just fight the dude?
Not really, because once you get past the 7 battles, or it's somewhere around there. There's thresholds to where then the Commander Grand Horn will turn it. He'll be a level 25, and he doesn't drop anything. So
Okay.
it's not really in your best interest to be fighting him because it's not, you're not going to get anything out of it, and you got to sit there and wait for the enemy unit all the way to the top of the
Yeah.
map in that mini
Yeah.
game too. So the very last battle, the one for the huge materia, if you just let all the enemies go up there, get to the shack, you can get a Imperial Guard, which
Oh.
is pretty interesting because I never knew about this. I think I looked it up on a FAQ or something like that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting about that. You know what I mean? It's like just you have to let them up in order to get some of the items or easier obtain them. Oh, Fort Condor. Like again going back. It was really cool quite different. I love the variety of units and just the whole kind of tower defense aspect of it, but again, just kind of way too easy, unfortunately. Anyways, going on, or moving on rather, we got Bone Village. So Final Fantasy VII, of course, same thing. Bone Village. What is it? Right outside the Forest of the Ancients or whatever. Ooh, scratching my memory
Yeah.
here. And you got the digging, so you can go and you dig and you get the little spots and they face or you face or I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
dude, it was such a weird mini game. I love the like when you're talking to the guy, he's like, "What do you want us to dig for?" And your options are good treasure, normal treasure, or lunar harp. It's just
Yeah, those are your three options, right?
it's so
Yeah.
weird. It's like, "Oh no, I just want like, normal treasure." Just
I don't want good treasure. Here's the thing.
exactly
I'm a man who lives within my means, and so I just want normal
affordable.
normal treasure.
We just want affordable, normal treasure, like nothing special.
Exactly.
Fun facts are interestingly, a lot of some of the best stuff in the game is only if you select normal treasure, like Key to Sector 5, which
Yeah,
is always a pain to get.
that's funny. They're trying to make you be, you know,
Google.
not exactly. They don't want you to be greedy
Don't be
with it.
greedy.
And so I'll be honest, I don't really remember too much about the Bone Village digging. I remember it was a thing, you got there in the story and
Yeah.
I think you had to dig, right? You had to get
You
the
had to
lunar
get
harp.
that key item, the lunar harp to
Yeah.
unlock or to awaken the sleeping forest or something like that.
Right. Yeah, and then you moved
Master
on
room.
and all that. But you could have stayed or returned and dug some more, and I just don't remember really ever doing it. And so honestly, I don't remember some of the stuff. I know we have a list here. We got obviously got Phoenix and Bahamut Zero, but both of those are if you missed it, and same with W
Yeah,
item, which I don't think I did. And so
yeah.
that kind of
I
knocks out some of the good treasure.
Yeah, I've actually never gotten those that way. Bahamut Zero, I could see you having to do because that was that you would only get that if you got the huge materia on the rocket, and you have to do that like a code mini game. It's kind of a
Oh,
pain.
that's
So
right.
yeah, I could see you missing that, and the game totally trolls you with that. It's like a 4% chance of getting that, so that would really suck.
Yeah.
Uh, Phoenix, on the other hand, is 100% because, again, you would get that if you were just basically didn't get a game over at the Fort Condor
Right.
huge materia fight, so that's pretty much a given. And W item again, that's 100% if you missed it in Midgar. But
Yeah.
other than that, I'm kind of with you. Like the mini game itself, before I knew all of that kind of stuff, I never really played it because never really got anything that good. If you didn't know what was actually there and you hadn't seen a list or something, you
Yeah,
just played the
yeah.
minigame, you don't really get anything that good. You have
Exactly.
to,
Yeah, you do it a couple times and you're like, what's the point? I'm not really getting anything here.
and it was a weird one too. Like, you set off the blast charge, and then all of the people that you placed on there, they all
Would
stare at the
turn.
treasure or something.
Yeah. Triangulate.
It was
Yeah.
weird, man.
So strange. And if you've ever delved into this, everyone knows the chocobo breeding. I would consider it a mini game as well. Remember last week we kind of defined mini game because there's a lot of things that could possibly be it, but just kind of it's just an additional elements to the game that are different in mechanics in general. And yeah, chocobo breeding for 7 would kind of be that, and especially if you just get on that glitch where you have to do it over and over and over. And oh my god, it's almost like I'm just so damn tired of getting this result that is not working.
Yep.
And it's just, it'll make you pull your hair out.
You're talking about when you're trying to breed the special chocobos, like
Yep,
the
yep,
green, the blue, the black. Yeah,
exactly.
that's. I just resorted to doing the same thing too. Instead of having to, because for that you either race them until you race your chocobos, is that they get like
The
higher
different
stats or
class, right?
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then that like improves your chance. But it's just so much easier if you manipulate the RNG in the game by just doing a hard reset. I think if you feed them just a really specific amount of greens, you can basically force it to happen. Because every green you feed them is like a point to the RNG.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you. Like back in the day, this mini game used to drive me crazy just because it's so time consuming.
I mean, it's like you said, racing and all that stuff. It's just a pain. It really is. And I mean, obviously, it's you want to do it because of what you can get, but it can be quite frustrating going through all the different channels and all the different things. And it's just like in the end, it's like you do it the one time and you're like, I'm good. I've done it once. And it
You
yeah.
have to do it like 50 times.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
And then,
next up is one of your favorite ones.
yep, the Tifa Scarlet slapping game
Oh yeah.
on the Junon canon. It's just such a weird one that I remembered from that game. It's only one time in the game. You have to go through it with the story. It's weird. What do you think of it?
To be honest, I don't really remember it.
Really?
Yeah. I really
Well,
don't.
it was barely anything. I mean, it was like one little time. Just, I guess your chance to take out your frustration on Scarlet.
Yep, good old Scarlet. And see, well, and moving on. See, this is the funny thing is, like we said, it's just a ton of little things here and there that really are mini games. If you think back to Market, yeah, doing the squat for the wig, right? Come on, bro.
Uh-huh.
And like, it's just that is definitely a mini game, and it's so interesting that you just what is it? You just kind of go in order and sequence on the controller.
It's
You know,
Yeah, it's like
square, X, circle, or whatever controller.
circle, and
Yeah.
you gotta time it so that you're not hitting him too fast, and
Yeah.
it's so funny. I just love that you do that in the game. Exactly, those little sound effects.
It's like it's just air blowing, over and over again. Oh my
But, it's
gosh.
great when you like mess it up. You go too fast on the sequence or something, and he just glitches out, stands up, and like scratches the back of his head like he's
Yeah.
confused.
Like,
Oh, wait a minute.
I botched that squat.
Yeah, I forgot how to do a squat all of a sudden. Oh man! All right, let me start over.
And then it's funny because, we have down the different things you get. In what? You got the regular wig, but then you get the blonde wig, and that has to do with like your attractiveness, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a point system for the affection.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
you basically for that mini game, well, that sequence in the story, you have to have the dress and you have to have the wig, either the wig or the blonde wig. And then there's
Right.
a whole bunch of other side questy type things you can do to get key items that increase, the affection value pretty
Of
much.
course.
And the more points you have increases the chance of him getting picked by Don Corneo. But
Oh
just
man.
a weird sequence in the game for sure.
It is the squat game. And then of course you have the Mac Daddy of mini games. Well, I was gonna say for Final Fantasy VII, but honestly for Final Fantasy in general, if you want to talk about mini
Yeah.
games, head to the Gold Saucer, right? Like that is literally, it has an arcade, it's got all kinds of stuff. And so I will just start off by saying, as far as Gold Saucer goes, I never really spent too much time in it. I've played all of them multiple times. I've done all that, but I don't even remember really the rewards and stuff, and if you would even need to sit there forever. But I would say the two that I guess I would gravitate to would be the basketball one, because I would just kind of get into that that rhythm of holding it down. And doing that. And then, of course, the boxing, which I'd always make it to, like, the Chinese dude and just
Oh
get my
man,
butt kicked, and so it
hated
was,
the boxing.
it was like,
Hated that movie.
yeah, it was like those two. And then that was kind of it. But, of course, we have a lot of the other ones. You got the Mog House, which, kind of was weird. The motorcycle
It was
chase,
really
which you've
weird.
already, yeah, it was so weird. You got the motorcycle
Yeah.
chase, which you've already done at that point. Of course, we talked about boxing. You got the roller coaster, which that was kind of cool. It was just, it seemed weird with the shooting. It didn't always seem to register.
Well,
Um,
did you ever do the Mog House thing?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Remember how I was like throw a Koopo nut, and then he does a little like eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stomach.
Yeah.
That's so weird. But I would always do that just because, man, the gold saucer is all about the battle arena to me, and the big challenge is to get all that GP. You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you want to get Champion's Belt. When you got preemptive materia, Omni Slash, later you have to do it a lot for W Summon and
That's
Final
true.
Attack and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, Monk House is a quick and easy 30. I used to play the basketball game, but I just suck at it.
You
So,
got to get into the rhythm. Yeah, you really
yeah.
do.
To be honest, the one that I would do the most was Chocobo Racing. If you got lucky, you know, if you got like if you got lucky and you won, you know, a turbo ether or a
Wahoo!
mega elixir or something,
Yeah.
that was like 300 GP. And then for Battle Arena, you're just set. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. Roller coaster absolutely sucked. There's some really interesting like missable items that you can get there. One is a spear for Sid, and I think it's called like I want to say mop or something. But the
Right,
other
right.
one's really funny. It's a weapon for Eris called Ursel.
There's
And if you don't get that, yeah, and if you don't get that before Temple of the Ancients, you miss it.
you can't get it, huh? All right.
It changes over to the spear, and then. But I've never been able to get those, dude. I've never been able to get that many points. Like,
That's I mean, the only thing I remember about the roller coaster is shooting the hell out of some things and just they never pop. And I'm just like, what more do you want? It's like, I'm like, I unloaded on it. Yeah, freaking unloaded on it. What more? How more accurate in just laser beam focus do you want me to be? You know, and so
Yeah, it's you gotta be really accurate, and you gotta like tap.
you gotta
So
flutter it.
you
Yeah,
can't hold it for very long at all. Otherwise, it just when it gets that like low beam thing, it just doesn't kill anything.
yeah, it does nothing. Gold Saucer, quite interesting. Final Fantasy VII in general. I mean, like we said, 7, 8, and 9. Now 8 and 9, I'd wager kind of do have a main mini game. 7, I don't think it really does. I mean, I guess the biggest thing you probably could say was maybe Chocobos, just between
Yeah.
breeding and racing. But other than that,
Yep.
like it really doesn't kind of have a ongoing whole game mini game that you can just do at any point in time, you know, and stuff. And so
I'd have to say the Chocobo. I
yeah,
mean,
probably
maybe not
about as
Chocobo
close,
breeding,
but it has
that's
a lot of
introduced to
them.
the main game, and you know goes on from there, and then it turns into like pretty much the biggest mini game in Final Fantasy VII.
Absolutely. So that was 7. Before we pop into 8 here, we're gonna get some C trivia going. Alex is rank 3, is what he is. So,
Oh man,
woo, climbing on up
climbing
there.
them ranks.
Yeah, yeah. We'll throw some easy ones at you still here, but yeah, let's get to some C trivia.
Let's do it.
So we got some questions here for the next seed rank. So like we just said, you know, Alex is seed rank 3. Let's see if we can get to 4. We got what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. Let's say 4. He needs at least 4 in order to pass. Kind of some background too. You know, I'm not selecting super intense questions for all of them. Some of them may be very obscure. Some of them may be just joke gimme ones, you know, so keep that in mind. All right, question 1. We got Final Fantasy X-2. Yes or no? There are 3 different endings.
No.
All right, Final Fantasy VII. This is kind of a gimme because I just actually heard you. Mog House rewards 40 GP.
No.
Final Fantasy XII. Vaughn's level 2 quickening is White Whirl.
Yep.
Final Fantasy VIII. There are 6 Chocobo Force.
Wait, what? Repeat the question.
In Final Fantasy VIII, there are 6 Chocobo Force.
Yes.
Final Fantasy X. Now, in ways of like kind of customizing your gear and whatnot, right? Alchemy. So like, you know, the the ability alchemy that you put on your weapons or armor, whatever it is, requires healing waters times 5.
Yes.
Final Fantasy IX, the Hildegard Mark III. That's the airship, right? It is Mark III or is it Mark II? I don't know. Anyways, it can land anywhere.
No.
Last one, Final Fantasy XIII, the first hunt, right, or the mission, I guess, whatever you call it, but the first hunt is Goodwill Hunting.
No.
All right, let's recap here.
I was too confident about that one.
You didn't see it.
We'll see.
All right, the first one, Final Fantasy X-2. There are 3 different endings. That's actually correct. There are 3 different endings.
What?
Yep. There's like what?
Ending?
It's like the standard, the good, and then the perfect one, right?
Oh man, I thought there was like a bad ending or something.
Well, there's 3 of them. All right, and then
well.
you got Final Fantasy VII Moghouse. It's not 40 GP, it is 30. And I heard you say that, and I was like, damn, there went the first question.
Oh man.
And
just ingrained in my mind.
the 30, yeah, go get your free 30. Final Fantasy 12 Vaughn's level 2 quickening is White Whirl. Good job.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 8, there are 6 Chocobo Force. That's how many there are.
Alright, cool.
Final Fantasy 10,
That's cool. Alchemy
requires healing water times 5. It's actually times 4. You only need 4 of them.
Serious?
Yep. Come on, man. How did you not know that?
Man.
Goodness gracious.
I know, right? I need to memorize that.
Final Fantasy 9, the Hildegard Mark III, cannot land anywhere. Nope, it can actually only land in green grass patches, which I completely forgot about on my playthrough, and I'm like, why can't you? It's an airship. Why can't you land on the freaking dirt? What the hell?
It doesn't make any sense. No, you can't land on this like sand or anything.
Yeah,
like
you can't do that. Snow. It's way different landing between those elements and just regular grass, right?
We just need grass, okay? If it's not grass, we can't land. All right. Argue.
In the last one, Final Fantasy 13, the first hunt is actually not Goodwill Hunting. That's the second one. The first one is Pond Scum.
Yeah, I thought so because it was I knew it was like the flan type of dude.
Yeah.
I think Goodwill Hunting is like some of the wolf type.
Yep.
Like 4 or 5 or something. So.
But some good news. While you did miss 3, you got 4 correct. So man, you are rank 4, seed rank 4. All right.
That's sick, man.
Heck yeah, climbing up, and so we'll keep seed going as much as we can. But let's pop back to our mini games in Final Fantasy VIII. So with Final Fantasy VIII, there actually aren't that many mini games. There really aren't. I was trying to think about as much as I possibly can. Obviously, we got the big one, which let's just not talk about at the moment. But other than that, there really wasn't that many. Obviously, the big one is Triple Triad. And quite honestly, I love Triple Triad. That game was amazing. It was fantastic. So involved. So many things. And I never owned the strategy guide growing up. And so a lot of the different kind of stipulations with a lot of these cards I never knew about until years later, and even then, I still don't know a lot of it. And I have the guide now, and so it's just crazy. But what are your thoughts on Triple Triad?
I really loved it. Aside from some of the cards, some of the rare cards are just an absolute nightmare to get because of the rules of the game. But I liked it a lot more than Final Fantasy IX's Tetramaster, which we'll get into later.
Which we'll get to. Yep.
Yeah, just because it wasn't quite as random, you know? It was pretty simple aside from the rules, you know? If you just had open, one trade rule or something like that, then it's just pretty much whichever card has the higher number on that side, wins.
Yeah.
But later on, of course, I'm just thinking of nightmare cards to get like Alexander and Laguna on the lunar base. There's ways to manipulate the card rules, but you can't do it there because reasons that we'll probably get into at a later episode. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, overall, I would have to agree with you. I think it was a great game.
Yeah, and kind of hitting at what Alex just said there. We will most likely have a podcast episode that is just triple triad. So while we'll talk about, quite a bit of it right now, we are not going to dig super into it because oh
Be a
my
whole
gosh,
episode.
is there so
Yeah.
much. We'd probably even have
So
to
much
we'd
to
probably even
talk
have to
about.
get that into 2 or 3 episodes, triple triad. But just kind of going into it, like you said, man, I kind of agree. Just the standard, just the baseline game, man. You know what I mean? Like, just open, just go have some fun.
Yeah.
You got your cards.
Yeah.
I would always play the ticket guy, the ticket booth guy. At Ballum Garden.
Yeah.
I'd always play him. He would always have really good cards. I'd always play him. Some of the other
It's a good
ones,
one, yeah.
some easy first cards. Usually, I wouldn't even bother with the card game until after the Fire Cavern. When you get Ifrit, once you get his, I mean, come on, why not? It's a
It's so
gimme.
much easier.
Oh my gosh, it's a for sure flipper defense. Nothing can touch that at that point. But even kind of shortly after that, you get Mog, you can get Quistis and Cypher and Zell, all those ones, and so kind of within like a couple hours of playing the game, you got a really solid lineup, that you're guaranteed to win most games.
Exactly. And just like what you were saying, yeah, that ticket booth guy, he's a really good one to play once you kind of build your deck up a little bit, because he plays a whole bunch of they're like level 6 monster cards or
Yeah.
something like that. And another really interesting thing about this game is card mod, which is I'm not really sure how to say his name, but the TF Quetzalcoatl or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't
Quizatical or whatever.
Quetzalcoatl,
Yeah, I don't know.
Quetzalcoatl, whatever. He can get that ability, and basically it makes it so that you can take any one of your cards, or in some cases 3 or 5 of those cards, can mod into an item. And the other broken thing about this minigame is that these cards, these rare cards that you can get, like Ifrit, Quistis, Cypher, and Zell, you can just break the game right off the bat. I mean, because you all of these cards, if you know who has them, are accessible pretty much right at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
And you can already have, I think Quistis's items. You can use the time magic modification to turn them into 180 triples. So at that point, you've got whatever you like: insane strength, insane magic on
Yeah.
2 characters.
Yeah, which and we will get to Final Fantasy VIII, absolutely, and we will absolutely have to talk about card mod, just because I mean that alone right there
Uh,
is a game breaking
Huge.
thing if you so choose to go that route. Final Fantasy VIII, I think, is the easiest game to make as easy as you want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
by
so
far.
and solely
Yeah.
because of card mod. But all that aside, just talking about the cards themselves, I mean, it's pretty cool. I really love it, and even I'll be honest, even some of the harder rules as you get into. So obviously you got open and all that stuff, and you got same, and you got plus, and
Yeah.
all those. Some of those can be
Random.
really fun because sometimes it really kind of makes you focus. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just for instance, like one of the tactics that I love doing, because the AI is actually pretty damn good at this game, you know what I mean? Especially with the other rules, is that when you have same or you have plus, I love to just place a card right in the middle because it throws them off. It really does. Like you'll place if you place your first card in the corner, they'll place it in the corner. You put one in the middle, boom, the game's like, oh, okay, I don't really want to do anything with that, because obviously if you flip it back, blah, 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 but it really can get very tactical. Obviously, if you can't see what they have, it sucks. And it's funny, man, because I remember talking with you when I was playing 8, months ago here, and how it's like you are almost at a disadvantage if you play all these really amazing cards because there's no variability with them. It's like you need these different values from these lower, less strong cards to kind of to get the same, to get the pluses. And because if you have a bunch of 9s and 8s out there, especially with same, like you just get screwed.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can with plus. Same is something I can live with because when you have a whole bunch of those high level cards, 9 times out of 10, they can't same you. because they
Well, because
very
yeah, they don't
rarely will
have
have
them.
a card that has a 9 or an 8,
Yeah,
for
that's
example,
true.
or something like that. But plus in random, and
Yeah,
obviously
random.
not having open is really hard, man, because you can't. Plus, it's really hard to foresee what's going to happen until the cards actually play out, and then you'll find yourself in a situation where if I put the card here, they're going to get a plus.
Yeah, that's true.
It's tough. So that's when, like, talking about lunar base and things like that, man, seriously tough to try and get those cards. I've had
Save it
real
after
real
every
troubles.
match.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but probably resetting maybe 10, 15 times trying to get those.
Yeah, yeah, pain in the butt for sure. And like we said, we will definitely dive into Triple Triad because we didn't even really get into the Queen of Cards and all that
Yeah,
stuff
that
and
whole
losing them.
side
And
quest.
oh, it is. There's so much there, and so we brushed up on it because obviously 4-8 that is like the mini game. I mean, you get it
Pretty
in the very
much, yeah.
beginning, runs throughout the whole entire game, and so definitely Triple Triad you got to talk about for sure. The other
Yep.
one is the Chocobo mini game, in which we alluded to with C trivia, and there's 6 Chocobo Force.
Oh,
I
yeah.
honestly don't remember ever doing it. I really
I don't
don't.
blame
Like
you.
I don't know if it was either I never made a solid stab at it, maybe I wasn't
Yeah.
interested in it, or I just literally never tried it, but I don't know anything about it to be honest.
Should definitely give it a try, man. It's a weird mini game. I think the ultimate prize pretty much is a Chocobo card you need for the Queen of Cards side quest that we'll talk about later. And any of the Chocobo forests that you win the game at, you get basically access to a Chocobo. So, if you don't have your airship or Mountain Garden or whatever, you can just go in there, you can get a Chocobo. But just briefly, it's this weird thing where you have to use the kid, I think is, I was gonna say his name's Choco Billy, but I think he's just Choco Kid or something.
Choco Billy. I think it is
Yeah.
Choco Billy to be honest.
Yeah, it's something. Anyways, but so you get a Choco Sonar and a Choco Ziner. I have no idea what that means, but yeah, it's one of those weird things where it's like the Choco Sonar is kind of like doing like a metal detector, and you have to find a exact spot on the map. You use the Ziner. It's weird, man. That's why I'm saying you should play it just to see what it's like, because it is seriously weird. Really
Just to
tough one.
see.
I usually have to look up the exact location because if you miss it, sometimes it can be really sensitive. Chocobo comes down, steals your whistle. You have to buy another
Oh,
one
what the
for like
hell?
3,000 gil. Yeah, I'm serious. It's super weird. It like comes down, lands on your head, steals your whistle.
Goodness gracious. Well,
Oh man.
yeah, I think I will have to try it out. But that is the second mini game we got for 8. And then really honestly, we just kind of have some quick ones. I was thinking about it. It's funny I wrote it down cuz I had no other way to describe it, but I wrote down to Punch Fest with Squall versus the Galabani soldier. When the two Gardens are fighting
Yeah,
each other and he hops on
like
like the little what is it? The kind of the exoskeleton suit thing that has the jetpack. I don't
like
know
a
what.
jetpack.
And yeah, and you sit there and you have to what? It's either like you can knee, you can punch, or block. Is that your 3 options?
And I knew exactly what you were talking about because I hate this mini game.
but but Punch
So
Fest,
annoying.
it's funny because when Alex and I toss these things together, we kind of we write down our ideas and all this stuff, and it's in a Google Doc and we look at it all that. It's funny because I just said basically all I do is I kind of just mash the buttons. I'll just sit there and dude, I never block. I don't think I've ever blocked on that. I just try to punch and kick my way to victory. And he was like, and Alex was like, I second that method.
Yeah, it really works.
It does.
I think if you just alternate between the two, you can get in this like pattern where he keeps getting hit just before his punch is about to connect.
Heck yeah.
Another really weird mini game there is the Laguna versus the Ruby Dragon part,
Yep.
that sequence in the game. Not
Dude,
really
it's
too much. I mean, it
hysterical.
was a funny, yeah, it's a funny scenario, but just yeah, just a really weird mini game that they threw in there.
Yeah, and for that one, I think it's even simpler, right? Isn't it just like attack and then
Square,
dodge?
yeah, like
And so,
defend or something like that.
yeah, it's And I don't think you can be as aggressive as with the soldier. I think you do have to kind of defend yourself every so often. But I mean, that's kind of all we got for 8, you know? I'm sure
That's
there's
all
kind
we
of
could
a
think
few
of.
other ones, but like just
There's a little mini side quests and things like that. Like you've got the poo poo little alien side
yeah,
quest thing.
yeah, that's true.
You've got the Opal Lake side quest. These are didn't really put them down as mini games
Yeah,
because like what we were saying about mini games, it's not really that unique. It's the same kind of thing.
it
Like the
is.
mechanics are all just in-game kind of mechanics and things like that. So
Yeah, and so we got the soldier and the ruby dragon. I mean,
yep.
that's kind of what it is, and obviously triple triad. But overall, that's kind of what we got for 8. And so we'll keep this party train going. We got 9 coming up, but let's do a bold move first here. So let's hop to it. Get some bold move action. So what I got for bold move this week, and of course backstory for it, as always, is Alex and I, we choose one thing from one character over any of the Final Fantasies that we just think was a bold move for either saying and or doing. So mine this week is I got Titus. God, so many bold moves out of that guy, isn't there?
Yeah,
And
what is it this time?
my bold move for Titus is, whoa, he's got to tell Waka. I thought I told you not to tell Waka. Like, Titus, bold move, man. She literally just said, don't tell Waka about Yuna's heritage. Whoa, I gotta tell Waka.
That was such a weird sequence.
Oh,
I
it
always thought
was.
the same thing. I'm glad that you chose that one because I always just thought that was so weird. It's like, why did he say it like that?
I think
she's
it's
not-
like some lost in translation thing,
think
you
so
know,
too,
going
yeah,
on
so
with the voice
funny.
acting in the yeah. But still, it's hilarious because don't tell Waka about he doesn't like blah blah blah. And
Right. I mean, what did he even mean by that? I gotta tell Waka about the game?
yeah, no, I don't
Like, or
know.
was it literally what she told him not to tell him about?
Who knows, man? But either way, it was a bold move.
Right. For mine, it's gonna have to be in Final Fantasy 13 when Lightning tells Hope, "Kid, get about Operation Nora. It's over."
It's over.
She just crushes him right there. He's like, what do I believe in if it's not, revenge on Snow for killing my mom?
Bold move because while I'm sure it wasn't pleasant saying that, he needed to hear it. So
Yeah. He's just gotta face reality.
he has to. All right, so those are our bold moves for this week, and let's finish off with some Final Fantasy IX. Kind of the same thing, I guess, with 8, where it has some smaller ones, but also has some larger ones as well. It has a little bit more than 8 did, in my opinion. The first one, of course, you encounter almost first thing with 9, and that is jump rope. Woo!
Oh yeah, the jump rope game.
I think we've talked about on one of the episodes prior to this. It is everything that I hate in a game.
It's
is
absolutely
jump rope.
brutal. Seriously, it's basically like you have to be a human metronome.
Dude, it's really bad.
Because you've got to be perfectly on it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Now, can you ever go back and do jump rope again?
Yes, and
Okay.
that's the nice thing is that it actually isn't visible. I believe you can play it in Disc 4.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking because I was, 9 is actually we are getting in. We're gonna be getting into 9 in our upcoming episodes here. We're gonna switch gears from the minigame series and we're gonna do some Final Fantasy 9, which I'm really looking forward to because I just recently made a pretty darn good stab at the story and the playthrough. But anyways, I was gonna say because I did in the beginning, but I don't remember ever seeing it again. Granted, I have not gone back. Regardless, I don't care. I'm not going to do it because I can never make it past. I think my best recently here is like 8.
Seriously.
Which I didn't get anything for.
No, man, you gotta get at least 20.
Yeah, it's
I got
ridiculous.
20 for the first one. 50 is a Cactar card. That's what I usually try to go for because at that point of the game, 50, it's pretty tough to get. You definitely have to kind of like get the swing of things, but Cactuar card at that point's really good. And then if you go really far, I think it's like 100, maybe it's 100 is Genji card. You get Tiger Racket card at some point, maybe like 300 or something, which I can't even imagine doing
Dude,
that. I can't imagine. Like, it gets so fast from 50 to 100. And then, of course, and everybody who's tried to get the platinum on Final Fantasy IX, the platinum trophy on PlayStation or Steam or whatever, you all know the key item, King of Jump Rope, and the gold trophy, I believe, for that. Absolutely insane. You've got to get 1,000. You got to get 1,000.
I can't.
straight.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And you know what? I can't even imagine. I can't imagine the people who have gone to 878 and
Right?
missed it. Like, just,
Yeah.
I mean, I've played a lot of video games, and I've played a lot of video games where you know, your progress is not saved. I'm thinking back to my old Sega Genesis days too, and all that stuff. And you put so much time into it, you get to it, and then something happens, and you either game over, or you lose, and it's literally you stop and you pause, and you just like it's just coming over you, like, yeah, that just happened, and it kind of just makes you say, you know what? Screw this. You know, like, oh my god, can you imagine? Or even 991, you get there, and then you just, you know, you're human and you mess up, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
literally 9 away.
There's techniques I've read about ways that you can, like, think if you do it just by sound and you don't have like the screen to distract you or anything,
Yeah.
there's ways like that. It is pretty crazy from what I've heard though, because actually, you know, it changes up the whole time. I think at 300 changes to kind of like a double tap, like a
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, you know, and then it'll do a quick switch back to the like
Yeah, that's gonna be tough to change, you know,
really
in
tough.
motion as you go.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, human, and that's the thing. It's really, really difficult for us to be that focused that long of a
That
time. Like
long,
you just
yeah.
yeah. So you basically gotta minimize all distractions and things like that. And
Goodness
like I said,
gracious.
I don't think I've ever even gotten 200 in this. I probably maybe gotten 100 at some point, but
10, man. 10 is my goal. All right, so the
and you
next
get
one
it.
up, what do we got?
Got the Hippal Racing.
And you know, we got that written down, and I do not remember anything
I'm
about
not
this.
surprised. Yeah, this again. This is so. This one actually is missable. That's the crazy thing with this. You have one chance and only one chance to race Hippopol or
Where is
Hippo.
that?
It's Alexandria right after it gets destroyed by Bahamut. The whole
Okay.
sequence. I think is that disc
It's got to
three?
be towards the end. Well, now see, granted,
Yeah,
I'm just, you know, I got the remaster, so there are no discs, but I mean that's got
yeah.
to be towards the end of 3, I would say.
It's getting towards the end. This one also sucks. It's one of those ones where as Vivi you have to quickly tap alternating buttons like square and X and circle. An absolute nightmare, man. I have actually done this. If you get him up to level 80, you get the key item Athlete Queen and you get a trophy. So it's pretty much the only real reason why you would want to do this is for maybe some really good cards, but I don't think it's worth it. You can get Ribbon, you can get Nova Dragon, which is that's a pretty good card, but it's just such an annoying mini game. Takes a lot of time, and the only real reason why you'd want to do is for that key item to get the trophy.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to get into. I don't really do
Gotta
not know
try.
anything or remember anything about that. So yeah, I'll have to give that a try for sure.
It's kind of funny because it's got a little bit of a backstory where his mom is trying to get Hipal back into shape. He's getting too fat or something like that. And so, you know, it's like Hipal level 1, and then every single time you beat him, he starts getting more and more confident. He's like, you know, I feel like I'm getting in better shape now and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Getting him into shape. All right. Well, the next one we got on the list is the sword fight with Blink, which that one's very early on as well when they're doing the whole play. And I really like that one. I love it. I'm really good at kind of a fast sequence of randomized buttons. And just knowing the controller, like I do, and obviously I've been my remasteries on Xbox, and so, just going through and hitting them as they come, up, down, left, right, AX, whatever, YB, and just hitting it, as it comes down, all right, psh, and I just kind of get in the trance and the flow with it, and I don't know, I'm really, really good at getting them every single time, and so as we got down, the rewards are really awesome for that early on.
I was gonna say the left and rights usually kind of get me. It's that sort of like frame shift.
It does slow down the tempo.
Kinda,
it does.
Yeah, it kind of messes me up or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty good if you can get 100 out of 100 of the audience impressed and Queen Braun impressed. 10,000 gil, and then she gives you a moonstone, which could be critical if you're doing a challenge run. For level 1 challenge run, this is really important to get that moonstone because you really needed Shell for the Black Waltz 2 battle. Like without Shell, that battle was really, really tough. So it's kind of interesting that like on a normal playthrough, it's like, it's got Beastmaster and Shell. It's a pretty boring item, to be honest. But like a challenge run, Shell is super important.
Well, no, it's actually kind of interesting in general, just because, even if you're not doing a challenge run, Shell is quite handy for all those vaults. And, of course, the gill's gill, you can buy some more items and stuff, but no, it was pretty cool just to get that, for just having a nice little time with Blink. The next one we got is frog catching, which is quite interesting. It's very easy. I think it's also very easy to pass up as well. And if you're not really into exploring, you can go and get Cuna and stuff, but you don't have to go back into it or explore the swamp or anything like that. And so I almost forgot about frog catching on this playthrough because I almost just went on my merry little way, and kind of just ran on by, and then went back. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, I totally forgot about the frog catching. And kind of as we have down, like, there are some really good benefits early on.
Yeah, to me there is, like, if you get 9, which you can get pretty early in the game. Pretty much by the time you get to Burmecia,
that first swamp,
you could probably get 9, yeah. The Silk Robe, and the reason why that's such a good item at that point in the game is it teaches you ability up.
Oh, yes.
Which is awesome. I think the other way you can get a Silk Robe is through the Chocobo Treasure.
I think, the frog catching... Can you synthesize it at that point?
No, see, that's the thing. The best you can get at that point is Cotton Robe.
Okay, that's right.
That's pretty good, but Silk Robe is seriously good because you can teach Vivi ability up, where normally, like, if you're not doing the Chocobo side quest or anything like that, you don't get a Silk Robe until Reno or something like that. You have to wait quite a while. But yeah, and then the other thing, obviously, about the frog catching is if you get Kina's blue magic skill Frog Drop, the more frogs that you have, the more powerful it gets. But
yes,
it's not really a practical move. It's, you have to get so many of those frogs. I think in my game, my playthrough that I'm doing, I think I got up to like maybe 20 or something, and Frog Drop's doing like 250 or 300 damage.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure what it is the number of frogs you've caught times 10 is what it is. And
yeah, so, it gets exponentially higher. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like I said, I've been doing my playthrough and all that stuff, and I was like, oh gosh, I really need to power level and all that stuff. And so I was just kind of looking on some things, and they say like the best, the quote-unquote best, in which, of course, again, we're getting into 9 and all that, but quote-unquote best party, all that, and it had Cuna in there. And it'd be like, oh, with frog drop and all that. But I'm like, you guys are crazy, though, man. I'm not catching that many frogs. Like, I don't care. I don't care if she's going to max out at 9,999. Like, that is a ton of frogs. So many frogs to catch. Like, I just don't care that much about that. But frog catching. Good pastime. It
I
is.
mean,
It
it's
is kind
there.
of fun to do. I do like it. I just love, and of course, again, we'll get into nine. I love the banter between the Final Fantasy IX characters, and so I kind of love when you go and I catch frog now. And it's like, yeah, go ahead, and it's like, you done? Yeah, I done.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty.
Quina is such a funny character throughout the whole game. And then, yeah, like the obsession with frogs, seriously.
And yeah, eating frogs.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's like in the game, I love that part. It's like Sedan's just like, yeah, there's plenty of better things in the world than frogs.
Yeah.
He's just like, really?
Trying to when they're trying to pick her up. Absolutely. Well, and so this kind of brings us to, I would say, well, what one of the two major mini games of the game, and that of course is
Definitely.
the Chocobo Treasure Hunt, in which, oh man, so much to unpack here. It's crazy. I love Chocobo Treasure Hunt. I love, well, it's a love hate relationship, as I should say, because while very fun, very good music choice, by the way.
Yep. Back to the sword fight.
Yeah, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Great stuff. But as we have down, my God, will when it's all caps and you got all the exclamation points, will that drive you mad? It's like I'm sitting there, dude. There's been times where literally the first one I've encountered, I will peck all around in a circle and I'll go back and forth. I'll go up and down. I'll go in a circle clockwise. I'll go in a circle. I'm like, where the hell is this damn treasure? It's like, oh my God, I have pecked like 50 times. Like,
You have to be really actually precise. I mean, I wonder what the area is around some of those treasures to where you can get them. Because honestly, I have been there too, and I think anybody who's played this game, knows how frustrating it can be. Where you're like right there, and you know it, and if you literally covered the whole area, but you can't
yep.
get the little thing to dig for the treasure. So
Can't find it. Yep. It's like I have tried in those frustrating moments. I've tried to really hone in on where I'm pecking, and then I hit it, and I'm like, I swear, I've hit that like 15 times already. In which I will say, out of the two places, I will say three, I guess. The Chocobo Lagoon, I like Chocobo Lagoon a little bit more. It's kind of a smaller area, it's a little easier to hit the marks, I would say, compared to the forest. And then of course you got the floating islands, which that one's actually pretty easy because it's a small area of where you can actually even peck. But oh my gosh, so annoying in that. But at the same time, really really good items that you can get early on. I mean, just
yeah.
you can get some really good stuff with the whole chocobo.
And we could probably do a whole episode on that too. So we'll definitely dig into that. But just off the top of my head, some really great early game items. If you go and do that right off the bat, you can get cotton robes. Draminus boots is a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
You can get the book staff, I think, pretty early, which is also just amazing. So yeah, it's a frustrating game at times, and I agree with you too. I like the Laguna quite a bit, even though, like what you said, that time's cut in half and stuff. But the Chocobo Forest, once you get the mountain Chocobo, just becomes there's too many areas.
Too many
It's
areas.
like
Yep. Got three
you have to
spots.
search the whole bottom, and then if it's not there, it's like, well, it's one of the two little upper areas.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
uh,
and also it does help if you don't try to just power through it all at once as well. So if you're kind of just giving it a go every here and now and then, as you play through the story, it's a lot better than waiting until the end of the game, and just like doing it all at once is woof. Because I kind of did that. I did about maybe 15-20%, and then the 80% was all at the rest of the end of the game, and it was like, oh, just make it stop,
yeah,
but
I feel you.
the one of the last ones for 9, and I'd say obviously the other large one that we kind of alluded are the cards, right? So Tetramaster, wow. It's kind of hard to talk about Triple Triad and then go to Tetramaster because it's night and day
Yeah.
difference, and it's just like, what did they do? Like, what were they thinking for it? And you and I have
I
talked
don't know,
about this. so much, especially through this last playthrough I did as 9, because I actually went and I was like, okay, I was like, I can't remember any of this stuff. I had to look it up. I had to look up the values and what all these different zero, all these numbers and, magic and P, or Emmer and P and stuff. And then I looked at all the variable values for each of these, and it's just like, why would they do this? Like, I understand that you want things to be a little not set in stone, but you want the complete opposite effect with it. Like, the variability is just off the charts.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, man, because every single time I play 9, I'm like, okay, this time I'm really gonna, try and collect all the cards and play a
Yeah.
lot of Tetramaster and things, but seriously, my experience has been that there is way too much variability with the randomness. I mean, it literally makes no sense. It's like the amount of times that some card with like 0 physical or 1 physical will be a card that has 2 or 3 defense. That shouldn't happen, I mean,
Yeah.
it happens way too often, to be honest. You'll have
Well,
a really
exactly.
good card. It just doesn't even seem to matter. It's like you can just have kind of like run-of-the-mill average cards and you can pretty much take them.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you roll a dice, and or it's the other way around where you place a card and you're like, the little blocks on the board, they line up with your arrows, and you're like, this is a solid place. You place it down, it goes, and then you get taken. It's like, oh my god, like how?
Yeah.
How did you get
Exactly.
flipped, man? It's like my defense is like 3 higher than your attack, but the variability was like, oh, I'm gonna give you the lowest roll possible while giving them the highest roll possible,
Yeah,
almost every single time.
No, it's really weird because you'll be looking at the numbers and sometimes it'll go like 137 on one card and it'll drop to like 20 in about 2 seconds, and then the other one will be like 13, it'll be like 12.
Yeah, it'll go down 1 or 2. That is the other thing too, right? Is while you have the values for your attack, they still increase and decrease at just bizarre. Like it doesn't make any sense.
The rates of the decrease, I get that it has, I guess it's trying to make it proportional or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know. And then we've talked about too the arrows. It's an interesting thing. You can get pretty creative with it because while you would like to attack at any point or any direction rather with your one card, sometimes it could be a very negative thing because for Tetramaster, if you're not familiar, anytime you flip a card, any arrows it's pointing to flips those as well, and so you can kind of get creative with it because sometimes you can choose a kind of weaker card and just use that as a decoy, or bait rather, where you flip things, and then as long as you get the last flip, boom, you can flip literally the whole entire board, if it lined up that case.
Yep.
So it does allow for some interesting things. I will say the cards themselves are pretty cool. I mean, you literally have ships, as cards. You have dark matter, I mean, you got some interesting things, but overall, when you compare Tetramaster versus Triple Triad, it's like it just does, it can't even compete. It literally can't compete.
I mean, kind of going back to the arrows and everything like that, I agree with you where, it adds kind of a different element where you can have some cards that have most of the arrows, and then you have some that are very specialized, like maybe a diagonal on one corner or something
Right.
like that. But yeah, man, the variability in it is just so frustrating. One other thing I will give it, though, is that you can get a lot of cards, kind of like what you're saying. They're cool cards, and there's a ton of them. I mean, 100 in total, I think.
Yeah, there are quite a bit, absolutely. Yeah, like we said, overall it's pretty cool, but man, it's just oof. And we'll definitely get into Tetramaster more because there are so many secret things. I mean, I know that in my playthrough I passed up so many of them. Lots to unpack there as well. But kind of the last thing we have for 9 is the pop quiz. And I guess we can toss in with it too, just the random kind of positive monsters. I don't know, the ones
monsters.
Yeah, the ones that want something. I want or whatever. but the pop quiz itself though was really strange. You know what I mean? Like up to that point, so weird. Such a strange thing. Like you're it goes, and you're like, all right, here we go, battle. And then it plays music, and you're like, what the hell's going on, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, and then there's a guy that has a freaking X in a circle, and you're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
He's sitting there doing like this little dance. Ragtime Mouse is his name.
Yeah, Ragtime Mouse.
It's super weird. Yeah. So, for you guys that don't know, what this is basically it's like it plays the same music, plays the friendly monster battle music. You get into battle, and then like what Mark said, there's a circle for true and an X or false, and then he asks you a question. And a lot of these questions are super obscure. It'll be like, the Great Limblum War was in 1619 or something like that.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
no idea. Anyways, with this mini game, if I think you can encounter him something like 16 total times throughout the game, win 1,000 gil per correct answer, and I believe it's cumulative, so you can get up to 16,000 or something. Anyways, and if you get them all right, you also get a protector. I think that's the best item out of that side quest.
Yeah, it's pretty hysterical though, because it's totally random. And yeah, pop quiz.
Exactly.
And like you said, the questions totally obscure, a lot of them, and
Tough.
it's pretty cool. I mean, I like it. Really weird, but pretty cool. And I think that's our list, man. I mean, there's
all of the mini games we could think of.
I'm sure there are plenty others that we have missed overall, 7 through 13, really. I mean, we didn't really even talk about 13 because there's really nothing there. But no, I think we got it. That was all that we have written down, at least for 7, 8, 9 for this episode. So if you guys have any other mini games or what have you, be sure to let us know if you feel it should have made the list here. A lot of these we're also running off memory, right? So I mean, I'm sure we definitely have missed some things, but overall, I think pretty comprehensive, and I had a lot of fun with it, man. I had a lot of fun revisiting some of these things, and the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And
exactly, it's like some of these mini games just makes me feel like I have flashbacks or something like that. Like the jump rope mini game and Final Fantasy
PTSD.
VIII one, so. Exactly.
Yeah. So, a lot of fun. But like I said, we will be moving on to Final Fantasy IX. We'll have to do some really good planning here. I know we did 12 before this series, and we spent about 3 episodes. I'd like to spend a little bit more time into Final Fantasy IX, and so we'll have to hash out some things. But regardless, that's what's coming your way following these episodes here. And man, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of media through screenshots and clips and stuff for Final Fantasy IX that we'll be tossing your way with social media, which, don't forget, we are on social media. We're live, right? We got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also have our website of a final stop for FinalFantasyTalks.com. Be sure to stop by all of those. We're trying to get into the habit here of getting involved.
Yeah.
We're
trying to get it going.
It's a work in progress, but we got it,
Exactly.
and so always appreciate the support, the listens, and yeah, thank you so much, guys, for stopping by, spending your time with us, and like I said, Final Fantasy IX coming your way really soon here. I'm Mark.
I'm Alex.
And this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks.